We are excited to share how Readable English empowers multilingual learners by making decoding easier and helping students become confident, fluent readers. Today, we'll look at some of the common challenges multilingual learners face when learning English, particularly with spelling, pronunciation, and vocabulary. We'll also briefly explore how Readable English supports the four key language domains: reading, writing, listening, and speaking to help students build their language skills and grow in confidence. Over 5 million students in the US are English learners. That's about 1 in 10 students. These learners face a dual challenge. They're expected to master academic content while learning the English language. That means they're working to understand complex material, build vocabulary, and develop reading skills all at the same time. The cognitive load is immense, and without targeted support, it can quickly become overwhelming. Recognizing this challenge is essential to providing the right tools, strategies, and opportunities for these students to succeed. We're fortunate to have a guest speaker with us today. Sergio, would you mind introducing yourself and sharing a bit about your EL population at Fireball?
Yes, thank you. Oh, my name is Sergio Navarro-Kelly. I work in a very small town, Fireball, California. We have about 533 students, sixth grade through eighth grade, and approximately about 30% are EL learners. It's about 159 of those students, and um, the rest, 2% or so, is white, Asian, and Pacific Islander. And yeah, I'm just excited to talk about how we've been using Readable English and the successes we've had.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear. Second language acquisition, or SLA, is the process of learning a new language after already knowing a first language. Several factors influence SLA, such as the learner's literacy in their native language, their cultural and linguistic background, and their home environment, especially whether English is spoken at home. Successful SLA requires balanced development across the four language domains: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. A key challenge across the domains is English spelling. Unlike many languages, English spelling often doesn't match pronunciation, making it hard for learners to decode words and recognize them accurately, like these examples. This complexity can cause frustration and slow progress in reading and speaking skills. The word yacht is a perfect example of the challenge English spelling poses to language learners across all four domains. So, looking at when learners encounter yacht, when they're reading, they may try to decode it phonetically and pronounce it as yacht, since the spelling doesn't clearly guide them to the correct pronunciation. This creates confusion and slows reading fluency. Learners often spell the word based on how it sounds, like YOT or YATCHED, highlighting the disconnect between English spelling and pronunciation, which can lower writing accuracy and confidence. Understanding that yacht is pronounced like YOT requires exposure to the correct pronunciation. Without strong listening skills, it's difficult to make the connection between spoken and written forms. So, saying the word correctly depends on internalizing its irregular pronunciation. Learners who rely on spelling alone often mispronounce it as yatched. So, this one word shows why balanced instruction across all domains is essential, helping learners connect sounds, spelling patterns, and meaning so they can overcome irregularities in English. This model from Goff and Turner's simple view of reading breaks reading comprehension into two essential components: decoding, which is the ability to read words accurately and fluently; language comprehension, which refers to understanding spoken language, vocabulary, grammar, background knowledge, and the ability to make inferences. The ultimate goal is understanding written text. The multiplication sign means both decoding and language comprehension are equally essential. So, thinking about a math problem, if one of these is zero, then reading comprehension will suffer. Scarborough's reading rope expands the previous model into a braided integration of the two main strands: word recognition and language comprehension. These strands initially develop separately, but as students progress, they intertwine into skilled reading. Multilingual learners often face challenges across both strands of the reading rope. They must acquire the vocabulary and language structures of spoken English while also grappling with the complexities of decoding unfamiliar written words. This dual demand increases cognitive load, which can slow reading progress, hinder vocabulary acquisition, and lead to frustration. Someone once described this to me as a frayed rope, a powerful image of how reading can unravel without the right supports. But with intentional instruction and the right tools, we can mend the fray, strengthen each strand, and help the rope continue to intertwine, supporting students as they develop into confident, skilled readers. So, Readable English is designed to eliminate the decoding barriers by making English instantly more accessible and phonetic. By removing decoding as an obstacle, Readable English opens the door to growth across all four domains. Reading becomes more accessible and fluent. Writing improves through a better understanding of language patterns. Listening comprehension increases as students connect spoken and written words, and speaking becomes more accurate and confident through guided pronunciation. When students can decode confidently, they are better able to participate in discussions, understand classroom content, express themselves in writing, and build vocabulary and fluency they need to thrive academically and grow as empowered learners. Persistent mispronunciations like these examples shown here can easily become ingrained over time, making them difficult to correct later. This is known as fossilization, and it's a major hurdle for multilingual learners. Readable English helps prevent fossilization by adding a pronunciation guide to every word, supporting correct pronunciation from the start. This directly strengthens the speaking domain by building accurate and confident oral language skills. Sergio, how do these glyphs and diacritical marks in Readable English markup help create that cultural bridge between your ML students and families?
So I don't think I shared, but I'm an academic coach, so I got to see sixth through eighth grade classes teach and learn these markups, and just like Sabrina said, it makes it more familiar. It makes it more like they're used to reading in Spanish. In Spanish, we have accents and little squiggly marks, and so the students are recognizing those as a tool for them to use when they're pronouncing the words.
So do you
What I
feel, oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm supposed to say what I've seen is the students are they're able to break down the word. They're able to fix their mistakes. They're able to be less stressed in the classroom, reading out loud in front of the classroom, in front of the students. And it creates these predictable patterns that they can use over and over again.
Perfect. You answered my question right there. I was going to ask if it kind of made them feel more comfortable
Mhm.
seeing some of these because they are familiar with them in their own native language.
Yeah, and what I've seen was the students themselves help each other. It becomes like this just the one team where they're helping each other. It's not just judgments or I got you moment. It's a whole team effort, and it's very nice to see.
That's great. I love to hear that. So, Readable English is packed with features tailored to support multilingual learners across all four language domains. So, let's take a closer look at how some of these key features directly support reading, writing, listening, and speaking, helping students build confidence, accuracy, and fluency in every area of language development. So the browser extension enables instant single-click access to word definitions, translations, supporting vocabulary development and language comprehension directly within any web-based content. This feature supports the reading and listening domains by enhancing understanding of text and context. While primarily focused on reading, the browser extension often includes audio features such as word pronunciation that help learners hear correct sounds and intonations. This supports listening by improving learners' ability to recognize and understand spoken English, reinforcing the connection between written words and their sounds. Interactive speaking tasks offer instant feedback on pronunciation, helping learners improve their speaking accuracy, fluency, and confidence through real time voice analysis. This directly supports the speaking domain by promoting correct pronunciation and oral fluency. This module enhances students' understanding of morphological families through weekly activities focused on base words, root words, prefixes, and suffixes. By exploring word formation and relationships, students deepen their vocabulary and improve decoding, spelling, and comprehension skills, supporting the reading and writing domains. This slide shows the real-world impact of Readable English during the 2023-2024 school year in Indiana. We had a total of 119 EL students in grades 5 through 9 that participated in the program thanks to funding from the Indiana Department of Education. On average, these students experienced a Lexile growth of 133 points. To give you context, the national normative growth for students in this age range over the same period is just 20 points. That means these students improved nearly 6 times more than expected, 5.7 times to be exact. As teachers, we know that we want to see this transfer to state testing and the tests that matter to the the higher ups. In Indiana, our EL testing is WIDA. Sergio, what is your EL testing that you guys have in California?
We have Alpac.
And from your experience implementing Readable English, how has Readable English empowered and built your students to kind of feel more confident when taking that LPAC testing?
Um, well, we put a lot of emphasis on the LPAC because it's one of the opportunities where kids can be redesignated out of EL, and so it's very important for the students to understand how important it is for them as well. So they're very familiar of where they stand, what they need, and so what I've seen this past year is a boost of confidence. There's a lot of students who um, uh, don't have to have instruction from a teacher in order to read a word that's unfamiliar to them. They use their tools that they've been accustomed to over the year and use that. They're able to uh, not only write it but orally say these words when they're being graded on fluency as well. And it just fosters like a lot of independence. These students from the beginning of the year are completely different. They're more independent. They don't rely on the teacher as much as they would have without the program.
That's great. I love that it's kind of building that independence in them as well. And I'm sure that you're seeing them participate more in class and in discussions within the classroom too.
Yeah, definitely. And any a guest that we have in the classroom when we're teaching these classes, that's what they mention. The level of engagement, of just participation, it's very, very high.
That's awesome. So this quote is from Professor John Sweller, the founder of the cognitive load theory, which explains how our working memory has limits and how learning is more effective when we reduce unnecessary mental effort. In reading, especially in English, a lot of effort goes into decoding words, figuring out how they sound based on spelling, which can become overwhelming to learners. What Zweller values in Readable English is how it simplifies this process, making pronunciation more transparent and freeing up mental space for understanding and fluency. So, by reducing the mental strain involved in figuring out how to read a word, learners can focus on what really matters, comprehending meaning, becoming fluent and confident readers. That's why Zweller says readable English has the power to transform the teaching of English. It aligns perfectly with what we know about how the brain learns best. Thank you again for joining us today as we explored how to build empowered multilingual learners with Readable English. We'd now love to hear from you. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to drop them in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and share.
Hello, Sergio. Hello, Sabrina.
So
Hello.
Let me show my face as well. I'm sorry. Thank you for this wonderful presentation and all the work you do to support ML students. Very much appreciated.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
Looking at the growth you showed earlier, I remember you showed a total of 119 and then a bar that goes to 5.7 of growth,
Yes, let me go back to that slide for you.
which is really huge. And my question around this is whether you have any data or some data that looked into the demographic of the L1 of the students you served.
Yeah, I'm sure that we have that information within it. I know personally from supporting some of our L1 students, um, jumping right into learning the glyphs is kind of challenging because sometimes those students don't have the standard letter sound background. So within Readable English, we do have standard English lessons that support how to make those standard letter sounds. Um, Sergio, did any of your L1s use those standard English lessons?
We did. We had a lot of students who were illiterate in English and Spanish this year. They came from straight from other countries, and so we started off with those standard English lessons just to get them the very basics. And then we built with that with games that we made up on our own or the lessons from Readable English.
Yeah. And did you see kind of that same similar growth with those students as your higher EL students?
We saw similar growth. Yes, we saw those, and this year we had students who wanted to learn. They wanted to learn English, and so they had a lot to show us that they came here to learn English.
Would you say the majority of the students were Spanish speakers in their L1?
Yes, all of ours were Spanish speakers. We live in a very Hispanic community, ag community.
Got it. Thank you. Thank
We
you.
have in Indiana, we had in this population of the 119, we had the majority of them were Spanish speaking, but we did have some Haitian Creole and some French speaking students as well.
Thank you both.
You're welcome. We have another question here. What approaches have been most effective in your instruction of multilingual learners?
Uh, for us, it would have to be consistency. We did it 5 days a week for about 25-30 minutes, but we were very faithful to the program and really pushed each other on the consistency.
Yeah, I would agree. I think repetition, especially just reviewing and doing that same systematic pattern with the students, they kind of learn the patterns and they get more comfortable, and building that confidence helps support that in our ML students. Okay, we have another question. Sergio, I like that you brought up the cultural connection between English and Spanish. Can you expand on that?
Uh, well, coming from Mexico myself, we have a lot of um, in our language, there's a lot of hints on how to say some words, like accents and other things like that. So these glyphs make it very similar to Spanish. It gives them an idea of what the word will sound like, even though they might not know what it means. They can get over that hurdle of pronunciation and then learn the word afterwards. So it's very similar to like Spanish, learning Spanish.
Nice. We have another question in here, and Sergio, I don't know if you'll be able to answer this, but we can answer it together for sure, I think. They're wondering, how do you think this would work with Nepali, Somalia, Swahili students? Spanish and French are Romance languages and have similar alphabet to English. So I think that I personally think that Readable English would still support their language learning and being able to learn English quickly, because it does simplify that cognitive load for students. And especially if they're older EL students, they have a firm foundation in their L1. So they have that background of learning a language already. And so if we can eliminate the difficulty of English, then we can help support their language development still.
Sabrina, this is Tim. I can jump in as well. I've been looking a lot into world languages and the structures of world languages. And Sergio touched upon this a little bit earlier when he was talking about the connection between the accents used in Spanish and to the point brought up in chat is that those are Romance languages, Spanish, Italian, and they use the Latin alphabet. We see a lot of benefit from making this connection between the use of diacritical marks in world languages. Again, Spanish, Italian, French, the use of diacritical marks are very limited. But when you start to look at languages like Vietnamese in particular, or Turkish, both using Latin languages, but or rather the Latin alphabet, because of the nature of the languages and not only the structure of the languages, but the impact on comprehension and the orthographic structure of the spelling. I think when you are working with these children from different backgrounds, making that cultural connection first, and then build into and doing research around the structure of their home language, whether or not they're literate or not, can start to build that bond. I had the privilege of visiting Sergio's school several months ago, and this was actually brought up by a student, a middle school student, who naturally just shared about the connection that they were having with their parent at home around these glyphs, which are the accents in the Spanish language. But as you look at different languages, and I know that Somali and Swahili don't use diacritical marks in their language, but there are a lot of languages. Nepalese is a very complex language. They use a significant amount of diacritical marks. We can start to talk holistically about the connection, about what this transformation means to them with Readable English, with these different cultures from around the world. And I think that kind of inclusivity starts to bring up a rich dialogue. And again, it's not a solve-all for these students that are just entering this very complex language of English, but we need to take those necessary steps to get to the level of word recognition and automaticity, so we can start to unlock deeper learning and comprehension.
Thank you, Tim, for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, well, again, we appreciate all of you joining us today. And if you do have any further questions, please reach out to us and we are happy to support you in your next steps. Thank you.